Hi BookTube, it's Chelsea the Reading Outlaw here to do the first update for the Dune in June read-along. This is being held by Paul. Sorry, my air conditioner just kicked on. It's super loud, so I'll try and talk a little bit louder. Hopefully you can still hear me. I'm sorry, but I really wanted to get this video up. I have a response to Paul's video. I'm not really going to answer like all of his questions specifically they asked. I'm just going to kind of give my first impressions. I'm really enjoying it. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, Paul from Common Touch of Fantasy is hosting a read-along of Dune in the month of June, hence Dune in June. And this first video is just kind of your first impressions. I'm about 150 pages into it, and I'm really enjoying it. It's not as difficult to understand as I was kind of afraid it was going to be. I'm a pretty big fantasy reader, but I'm still kind of new to science fiction, and so I still kind of am afraid every time I get into a science fiction book that for some reason it's going to go above my head, or it's just going to be a really steep learning curve. But I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the excerpts at the beginning of kind of every chapter that we get from the like the Dictionary of the Muad'Dib. I believe that's what it is. There are a couple of other, A Child's History of the Muad'Dib by the Princess Irulan, and a couple of other of those kind of insider notes that we get that almost kind of set up what each chapter is about. I really, really like the way Frank Herbert foreshadows the events. I like that already going into it, we're told from basically like page 1 that Paul's father is going to be betrayed, and it's all about what's going to kind of happen after that. I also like that we already know that he's destined to be this kind of great leader for the Bene Gesserit. I believe that's how he would pronounce Gesserit, Bene Gesserit, Bene Gesserit, which I actually really enjoy. It's one of my favorite parts of the book so far. I really like that it's like a female-heavy religion. I think it makes some interesting points about colonization, and specifically religious colonization, like the fact that before any of them have ever even been to Arrakis, they are aware of the Bene Gesserit and kind of the prophecies and the practices of that, and how that influences Paul's ability to function on the new planet. I'm really, really liking all of the characters. I'm interested to see how it all plays out. It's one of those books for me that for some reason, if I'm not reading it, it's a little bit hard for me to pick back up, but once I pick it back up and get back into it, I'm absolutely flying through it. Some of it's still a little weird to me, the sandworm things, the Freeman thing is still a little, I'm still kind of trying to figure out like what's going on with them and where their political allegiances are and how they're going to influence what goes on in the rest of the story. I also really enjoy these like not conflicting, but contrasting points of view that we get between both Paul and all of those people surrounding Paul, as well as Paul's enemies, and you know what they have planned. I cannot get the image out of my head of this like incredibly fat man with, in my mind for some reason, like teeny tiny little legs like dangling, as his like giant fat is supported by these like basically mechanical like robot arms. That's kind of what I have pictured in my head. So that's been an image that's been really hard to get out of my mind. It's kind of like a really, really creepy version of Wall-E. But I am really, really enjoying the first bit of it so far. Like I said, I'm not quite as far along as I wish to be because it is kind of hard for me to pick back up. And especially since Will's been napping for shorter and shorter times during the day, he's kind of fussy at night. When he's like right around bedtime, he's getting to be more and more fussy because I think he's kind of overtired. So that's meant less reading time this month than last month, but you know, we're coping, we're dealing, and I'm still plugging right along. I'm excited to get to like the official end of the first book throughout hopefully this week. Like I said, I'm not quite as far along as I would wish, as I wanted to be, but I'm hoping to get to the end of it in enough time to keep up with Paul's kind of loose reading schedule that he's devised. I'm pretty much out of things to say about it. Those are kind of my first impressions. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. And yeah, I hope that you are joining us for Dune in June. It's definitely a good time to get to what is, I have been told, a classic of science fiction. I mean, the thing on the back is blurred by both Arthur C. Clarke and Robert Heinlein. And I mean, that's kind of a hard, you know, pair of blurbs to be. So please join along. I will link to Paul's discussion video down below, as well as his announcement video if you just want some of the overall details as to how it's going to go. And please feel free to join us. Leave me your comments below letting me know what you thought of the book, or if you haven't read it and you plan to or don't plan to, why or why not. And as always, subscribe, like, and I will see you guys around the internet. Bye.